So we're under new leadership at Xbox, which I think is cool. We got some interesting things to kind of look forward to, and kind of just paying attention, about what's going on. First of all, I kind of want to point out that it does make a lot of sense for Microsoft to make some changes. You don't keep the same leadership that was sinking the Titanic. You want to kind of change things up and make sure that everybody has something to play, something to look forward to. So otherwise, and the people that would go, oh well, it's Satya Nadal is the one that was making the calls. I'm dubious about that. I'm not saying I like the guy, and I don't think he knows anything about gaming, but I think he probably at some point realizes that exclusives are maybe a necessary evil. And even going back to when Phil first took over Xbox, he would say stuff like, we're not about creating walls and this kind of stuff. So, it's just really one of those weird things that kind of happens where, as fans, we kind of maybe jump into what's going on. So I guess we'll have to wait and see for that. But, again, as gamers, we tend to be a little bit pessimistic. And I think that one of the reasons why is because we're just so used to this stuff at this particular time. So, we'll see what happens. But anyway, I did want to get into this because if you do have an Xbox, the free stuff is actually pretty cool, and it's something that I'm actually going to jump into. So yeah, I haven't been playing my Xbox an incredible amount of time lately. I've been more on my PS5 Pro, but maybe this stuff I definitely kind of wanted to give some of this stuff a try. So yeah, why not? If you guys didn't know, Free Play Days has 4 free games this weekend, which is pretty cool, and I know some people kind of look forward to it. But anyway, Microsoft has now revealed the Free Play Days games for the weekend. Game Pass Ultimate, Premium, and Essential subscribers can now play Sonic Racing Cross Worlds and Black Desert on all weekend, and FBC Firebreak and Call of Duty Black Ops 7 are free for all Xbox users until the 9th. So yeah, so anyway, if you guys didn't know, my birthday, and it's been fun kind of to do some videos and things like that for everybody. I've been having a pretty good day so far, so I wanted to say thanks. Some people kind of remember that it is, I don't usually really advertise it or anything, but I'll make sure to kind of get things going and worked out so that everybody can have some fun and all that kind of good stuff. And that's how it is. So the cool thing is, the 4 temporary free Xbox games, both FBC Firebreak and Call of Duty Black Ops 7, are already included in Game Pass Ultimate. So if you're a subscriber of that tier, your time will be better spent elsewhere. At least Premium, Essential, and non-Game Pass members can check them out, though. Crimson Desert coming to Xbox this month. Perla Best seems to be trying to get everyone on the Desert trade by including its previous game, Black Desert, in Free Play Days. If you're interested in checking out the MMORPG this weekend, a completion here takes about 20 hours according to estimates. As for Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, the 1000 gamer score would take you significantly longer with a completion estimate of 80 hours, but this is one that I want to try out anyway. I like the Sonic Racing games, and I have them all except for this one. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how this kind of works out, and if it's something that I can kind of get into or whatever. And maybe if I can get into it, I'll pick it up. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Finally, Call of Duty Black Ops 7, only multiplayer and zombies are free this weekend. The trial includes all 25 multiplayer maps, the new Mars survival map for zombies, and 2 round-based zombies maps. So yeah, like I said, I think that's pretty cool. Nice to see that we're getting some free stuff from them, and we're going to be able to kind of enjoy that. Like I said numerous times, it's nice to see when they offer like some of this free stuff or whatever to the fans. And even though I think probably a lot of people look at this stuff and go, oh well, who cares or whatever, honestly I actually do. I think it's pretty cool when they do this, and the fact that they give people a little bit of a chance to check things out, because back in the day we used to get all kinds of games via like demos and stuff like that, so we'd be able to demo a bunch of games, and that was always cool. And now it's like demos are hardly a thing anymore, and so we kind of do our best to just, we never know what's a game, if the game's going to be good, is it going to be bad. These are the types of things that I think people kind of all look into, and for me, it's just nice to see that, hey, there are some cool stuff going on here. We get some cool games, and we'll see how like Microsoft treats the fans after that. So, like I said, I'm looking forward to it, and there's always like the free stuff that Microsoft offers up that is always free, So I think that's something to, I guess, maybe get excited about. You can always pick up Crackdown 1 and 2. You can pick up 2 Human. Those are 3 free games, perpetually free on the Xbox Store. And, that's, like I said before, I think that's really, really awesome of Microsoft to kind of offer that. So, again, Microsoft hasn't really been known to be exactly friendly to, like, the gamers and things like that lately. So it is nice to see when they do kind of break out some stuff that really kind of comes together for fans and stuff like that. So I'm excited about the future. We'll see. I'm holding things kind of close to the chest on it. I'm going to be as honest as I can. I hope that they do some changes, but I hope they keep like doing free stuff like this. I think it's going to be something really cool to look forward to just as a fan of gaming, and not only that, but just think about this, guys, the amount of competition. If Microsoft gets back into the ring, starts doing some exclusives, has like a regular console, the amount of competition that we'll see could be really incredible. And, that's something that I want to see come back, is that competition, not only for the companies themselves, but for the ability to kind of go out there and compete, like studio-wise, right? Like if Naughty Dog came out with a badass game, Uncharted 2, doesn't that make Microsoft developers want to try hard to top that, and vice versa? Microsoft did Party Chat, and then Sony had to do it. Microsoft did Achievements, and Sony had to do it. Sony started giving away free games with PlayStation Plus. That made Microsoft have to do it. Microsoft started doing like the big catalogs with Game Pass. That meant Sony had to do it. Don't you guys understand that we get the better deals, we get the better prices, and we get everything better when these companies are actually out there competing with each other? And I say this all the time. For some reason, it's like Phil Spencer, and maybe not just him, but I'm not trying to just come down on him, but it just feels like he tried to really make it seem like exclusives are bad, or whatever the case may be, but they're not. They're not bad. Like, people like me buy all the different platforms for the different games that are playable and things like that, and I think that's important. It's like you got those different experiences. I love the experience on a Switch 2 and a Switch. I love the experience on the PS5 Pro. I love the experience on the Xbox Series X. So, when I kind of look at these things and I say to myself, okay, well, how is, the game changed, in the future or whatever, this is pretty big to me. I look at this stuff and I just say, hey, they really are kind of switching things up, and it's not antiquated to have exclusives, right? When the majority of the companies out there are doing exclusives that have consoles, then yeah, I think it's important to kind of keep doing that. It's not 1990s. Like, Microsoft had so many people talked into, having exclusives being something of like the 1990s or something like that. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So the way I kind of look at it, things are changing, but gamers have been consistent in what they want. So maybe things shouldn't change the way that I think Microsoft has been trying to push it, but it is nice to see them give out some cool stuff, and they seemingly do this, quite a bit. And, that's something that I'm here for. I like to get maybe throw some achievements down and things like that, test out some games, maybe get something that I maybe wouldn't have played before, and maybe it'll kind of talk me into buying something. That's always kind of the hope anyway. But how do you guys feel about this? Do you guys enjoy when they do like the free stuff, the free gifts and all that kind of stuff? I think it's pretty cool when that happens. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm gonna go in with open mind with what Microsoft is doing, and I'm hoping that we'll see something happen. So we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying my content on my channel, please like, share, subscribe, and of course comment. All that stuff helps out tremendously You know, so very much appreciated to each and every one of you. Hope you guys all have a good day. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. I'll catch you next time. Crap Gamer out.